All right, guys, Tuesday, phase 12, we are doing 4 rounds of 60 seconds of work with a 20-second break. There is no finisher on these workouts today.
Right, so we're going to be working hard inside of that 60 seconds. The first exercise up is a half kneeling plate chop. So with the plate chop, we go down half kneeling, means one knee on the ground, one leg out front, one leg back. Notice how the toe is in the ground. I'm nice and stable. To make this more challenging on my stability, I would just make my stance a little more narrow. If I'm having troubles with my stability, I make my stance a little bit wider. Okay, so once I get comfortable in my stance, then I'm going to take the weight plate from the down hip. So whatever leg is down, that's the side I'm going to start with the weight plate. Then from there, I want to think belly button and eyes and weight plate move together. So I'm going to rotate with my core as I go up. I'm not looking to overextend. Once I reach too far, I'm going to lean back, and I'm going to actually put that pressure then on my lumbar spine. I want to make sure I'm just working on a nice smooth rotation from my hip up to my shoulder, where I'm just looking up and out. I'm almost looking through the hole of my weight plate the entire time. For 60 seconds, you'll probably not want to go very heavy. I'm just using a nice 15-pounder here. And for the course of 6 seconds, that would probably be enough for me. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch, and I'm going to put the other leg out in front with the other leg back. I only have 20 seconds now. I'm going to get ready to do the other side and make sure I have good, solid rotation without going too far that I end up leaning backwards. So that'll be something you want to watch while doing it. Now, there are a few members that you might have that can't kneel. If we're having that, still want to have them go into more of a staggered position, and then the chop will come through more like this. As you can eyes go from hip to shoulder, they'll be a little bit taller. We're going to have less rotation because they're going to have an easier chance of arching their backs and leaning backwards. Okay, so we're going to be working a little bit more on just coming through, rotating just past the shoulder and back down. Eyes, weight plate, belly button moving together. Okay, so that is your chop, weight plate chop on the first exercise. Now, once you're all done with that station, we're going to move over here to what's called an up down. An up down is a lunge pattern. So for this one, they have to do a lunge. So when we're doing a lunge pattern with up downs, we start in front of our mat. Then from there, we can do this body weight where we go back onto one knee, bring the other leg back and behind, then stepping forward, getting nice and tall. What we don't want to see is them grabbing a weight and making it too heavy that when they put their foot forward, they come in here and then they're pressing up. Okay? If you were to do a normal lunge, you would never want your lunge to be in this position, so we wouldn't want an up down to be in that position. We want to be able to stay tall throughout that pattern. So if I lead with the right, you can lead with the right, standing tall. In the next round, if I'm leading with the left, then I think I was leading with the left in that one. Now I'm leading with the left, standing up. Okay, so that way they're working the different leg muscles as they're doing their up downs. Right? Not everyone will be able to do up downs. Okay, and some people will be able to weight them. Okay, so we gotta make sure they're in the right modifications. Right? So for example, they can do a stick assisted split squat if they're just struggling with the up down. Maybe they don't have the strength to get up off the floor after they put both knees down. So the stick on the side of the leg goes back, just staying nice and tall. Make sure that stick is there for a little bit of stability and strength. Right? If you have people who can't get down all the way to the ground with the up downs, we're going to think about how do we make the lunge pattern then. If they can't go on the ground for that 60 seconds, maybe work more that single leg glute bridge. We have them on the ground trying to work that glute pattern, right? Coming up like that, more of a cook hip lift, squeezing that glute hard. Think about pulling that knee into the chest. Or if they have knee issues they can't do that, just have that leg up off to the side, and then they're squeezing that glute nice and hard instead of actually going down on their knees on the pad. Okay? So that's going to be 4 rounds from there, up downs. Then we have the archer press. Okay, so the archer press, we're going to be doing this exercise with a pad. So tall kneeling is on both knees, toes into the floor. What I'm going to do is a shoulder press pattern. So I'm going to take the medicine ball from one shoulder, nice, good, smooth rainbow, up and over to the other shoulder. I'm trying not to move the head as I do this exercise. I'm staying nice and stable, keeping that core engaged and that rib cage down. Now we have medicine balls all the way up to 30 pounds, but just make sure if we are going that heavy, that the pattern doesn't change. The weight should not dictate the pattern. I shouldn't have to lean into this exercise to get that medicine ball up and over. Think about ear hole line, right? They should go straight up, over, and down. Same thing for people who can't kneel. Just like with a half kneeling chop, they can do that standing.
With that one, guys, remember, people are going to try to go a little too heavy, and it's 60 seconds with only a 20-second break. So encourage them to stay a little bit lighter because it's going to really add up over 4 rounds.
All right, and this one, mini band lateral walk. So what I would recommend is have a bench handy nearby to let the people get into their bands a little bit easier. Let them have a seat, get their bands on, or they go just above the knees, and we're going to be focusing on lateral walk. So lateral walk, don't let them just go wherever. Assign them a square or two depending on the size of your class. So if I'm going to work these 2 squares, then that person over there knows I'm not going to be getting in their space. All right, so I got 2 squares I'm working here. Now, once I start my lateral walk, if I'm in an athletic position with my feet shoulders apart, my feet will never come closer together than where I'm starting. All right, I'll step out, back to athletic position, step out, athletic position. I will go the course of my 2 squares, then I will bring it back, and I will cover that ground, and I will stop, and I will go back again for the course of 60 seconds. Done properly, with the right amount of resistance, 60 seconds, 4 rounds, the glutes are going to be on, and they're going to be burning. Okay, that's what we want during this lateral walk. Make sure we're in that nice, good athletic position. I'm not just standing tall, doing the rigorous steps. Okay, make sure we're bent a little bit, knees are soft, chest out, shoulders back, and I'm stepping out. Feet never come closer together than when I started. And when we're done, just going to throw those into the buckets. And then the last and final exercise is going to be our single arm TRX row. Okay, if they're comfortable with it, they can just pull one side of the TRX down and use that. Otherwise, like me, I like to grab both of the strap handles and then hold on to that way. You're not going to be probably able to grab both of the actual handles because you need a pretty big grip and a hand to be able to do that. So single arm TRX row, number 1 mistake we always see. People just allow that arm to get pulled forward. That shoulder is not packed in. When a packed in shoulder, that arm, that whole body will move together. I will pull in the base of that belly button, moving that shoulder blade, arm extends out, but I'm not letting that shoulder get pulled forward. All right, I'm keeping that belly button straight to the wall, and I'm also keeping the other arm nice out in front if I need to keep that lined up with the shoulders. So you can see how one arm is not out in front of the other. Notice how the hands would line up right next to each other, and then I would pull again. We're doing single arm rows so that the one arm does get a little bit of a rest inside there, because 60 seconds on 1 row is pretty challenging. How do I make this exercise easier or harder? Based on where I place my feet. If I walk it down, it gets really hard and challenging. If I walk it back, it gets a lot easier, and I'm able to do that row. A lot of people may start their row, but they normally do it with 2 arms, and realize that they're going to find failure really fast.
Remember, guys, there's no finisher on this day.